They said in New York and New Jersey, which we're all from, dog, a second job now is a necessity. Like back in the day, you'll get a second job because you wanted a new car, or you'll get a second job to pay off this vacation or do. Now you need 2 jobs to maintain a standard of living. So now you're talking about bringing another human being into the world that's going to rely on you for every single thing.
That's more expensive for their formula, their clothes.
Now you can't take even the jobs that pay minimum wage. It's no kids in there. Think about what I'm saying. When we were young, the bad chicks worked at the mall. I'm going to the mall. They in there. Now those are grown-ups.
Grocery store.
Wawa. 70 grown-ups. Dunkin' Donuts. Grown-ups. Fam, they are outsourcing the jobs at a different type of rate. So now the 40-year-olds are working at Wawa.
But they have to.
They have to. Bro, I live in Wawa, right? So I could go on Wawa at 2 a.m. to get a coffee. Bro, it's 55, 60-year-old women in there working there at 2 a.m.
Overnight, yep.
You get what I'm saying? So when we start talking about people having kids, people are not having kids on purpose because they can't afford them.
This year and everything is just hitting me right now. It's like not where I wanted to be. I haven't succeeded at anything. I haven't even tried. Like, I don't even know anymore. I don't know how to do anything. I don't know how to cope with anything. And I don't know how to, I did this whole growing thing wrong. Like I'm supposed to be an adult. I'm supposed to be able to handle these things, and I can't handle anything. I literally am just realizing, like, it's been 40 years of this, and like, it's 40 years of just being confused and not knowing and like figuring things out slower and like not like I haven't built anything. I have nothing like to show for this time. I just don't know what I'm doing here, and I'm lost. I'm afraid, and I don't.
So yeah, I need help. Today is like the last day for me to be able to pay my rent. If I don't pay it, then I'm at risk of being evicted. Like, I don't have the funds to pay for it myself, so I just need help. I'm gonna put a link in maybe like the description or comments for my GoFundMe, and please, it's not that much. It's like maybe 700. But I need it by 4 p.m. today, or like I could be moving out in like 2 weeks. I'm a single mom, and I do have family, but I'd be too embarrassed to ask, and I don't think they have it for me, so I'm just getting on here and asking, like, if you could donate to help me reach that amount today. Please donate. It would be much appreciated, and I thank you to anybody who has already donated to my GoFundMe. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to me, so please donate, so I can help pay my rent.
Shalom. I would like to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakodash. I would like to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you sincere Akim, pushing this word across the 4 corners of the world. Just another news update that the spirit, the power, and the vibration of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. And just a quick lesson in spirit, going into how these Americans are barely staying ahead, and that's due to this inflation. And according to economics, inflation is an increase in the average price of goods and services in the terms of money. And where we see with Trump's tariffs that he's imposing on these different countries, mainly China, that's taking a major effect upon the average American, hence the middle class. And as you should know, the middle class serves as a vital role to a healthy society economy. And by you having these group of people, which is the middle class, and not tapped into spending as they once did, that would take a major effect upon the economy. And according to a recent study by this outsourcing platform by the name of Academize, they stated how more than half of millennials, and millennials are Generation Y, they are the age group between 29 to 44 as of 2025. And by the way, these millennials, they make up the largest percentage of workers within America. And they are working more than one job to make extra money. And also, according to this recent study, nearly 24% of these workers have 3 jobs. And 33% of these workers have 4 jobs or more, which is defined as polyworking. And whereas the word poly goes into multiple or many, and of course, working. So a lot of these average Americans, and mainly these millennials, they have multiple jobs, all in order to make ends meet, just to have extra income. And nowadays, these millennials are working more than their parents and their grandparents. And that's all within the expense of family time. By working multiple hours at these jobs, that's affecting their work-life balance. And that takes me right to Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And pursuant to Isaiah 46:10, it says, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things are not yet done. And that's the fulfillment of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai's words. Hence, these end-time biblical prophecies. And it goes on to say how my counsel should stand, and how Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai will do all his pleasure. And that's by fulfilling his words. And we know through the Spirit and according to the word that he's not a man that he should lie. So if you are measuring the times diligently within itself through the gift of the Holy Spirit, you can see that we are definitely within those times where Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai sent up America, aka Babylon the Great, to be that main focal point of his divine judgment. And he's about to get ready to take America off the world stage. And that's through the hands of his vessel dishonor, the higher ups of Esau Edom, and to cause an engineered global financial collapse to the way of operating or doing commerce via these Federal Reserve notes will soon be null and void. And they will soon implement a digital global paradigm by the means of the Karatma, or this RFID technology, the MOTB system. Verse 2, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. And when you pluck up something, that means that you are eradicating or you tearing it down from the roots. Hence, the foundation of America. And that takes me right to 2nd Ezra 15 verse 12. Egypt shall mourn, and another biblical codified name for America is Egypt. When you read Revelation, the 11th chapter and the 8th verse, it goes into about their dead bodies should lie within the street of that great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. And that's referencing to America. And that's because America mirrors or imitates all these ancient empires and kingdoms, and is all balled up into one, which is nothing but total confusion, because it's mixing all these ancient ideas, customs, mannerisms, deities of these ancient empires or kingdoms, and it's like a conglomerate just balled up into one, which is why you have Babylon the Great, which goes into great confusion. So Egypt should mourn, and the foundation, which goes into what we just read earlier within Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, how Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is going to pluck up which is planted. And again, that word pluck up goes into by eradicating or tearing down or tearing away from the roots. So Egypt should mourn, and the foundation of it should be smitten with the plague and punishment that Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai should bring upon it. And those plagues goes into those divine widespread calamities and afflictions, and where Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is bringing upon this earthly realm through his rod of anger, his vessel of dishonor, Esau Edom. And where we are all witnessing Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai is utilizing his left-hand throwaway weapon, Esau Edom, to cause all this global mischief, confusion, and chaos upon the earth. He's causing a major shift in indifferences, especially between these American households. with these economic straits or burdens that he's putting upon these everyday American people, which is causing a lot of these Americans to be within that spirit of mourning. And that goes into like a deep expression of grief, regret, sorrow, and also distress, which we just saw a clear example of that mourning due to the second video of that Eve crying because reality is being set in for these modern women. And she stated how she haven't succeeded in life and how she can't handle her financial responsibilities as an adult. And this is all after turning 40 years old. She feels like she failed at life. And as time progresses, you're going to see more and more people within that same sentiment when the so-called powers that be really start economically choking these Americans by these draconian measures. You're going to see more people within that spirit of mourning, lamentations, and woe, which is all fulfillment of end-time biblical prophecies. Because right here within Ezekiel chapter 2, verses 9 to 10, it stated, "And when I look, and behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein." And that's referring to the Holy Bible. "And he spread it before me," again going into the Holy Bible, "and it was written within and without, and there was written therein lamentations and mourning and woe," which expresses the times that we are currently in, and where you can still see that a lot of people cannot spiritually pinpoint on why these divine afflictions, calamities, and punishments are coming upon the earth. And that's amazing at times. Like they cannot spiritually pinpoint on why these catastrophic events are occurring within these last days. Okay, so jumping back to Ecclesiastes 3:1, "To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted." And again, we can see Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shai is uprooting the fashion of this current world. And again, where America is about to be taken off the world stage, and that's very soon. Verse 3, "A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up." And according to Isaiah 24:10, it goes into how the city of confusion, again, referencing to America, aka Babylon the Great, is broken down. And from an economical standpoint, it's being broken down through these tariffs. And that's associated with inflation, where we are witnessing a higher cost of living, expenses. The housing market is in a major crisis. Energy costs are going up. And where that's affecting more and more of these Americans that are barely making it, especially the middle class, to polywork. And again, that's by having multiple jobs, all in order to make ends meet. And that's the new harsh reality within America. Verse 4, "A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance." So by Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua is utilizing his left-hand throwaway weapon again, Esau Edom, which is that rod of his anger, and to place that economic squeeze upon these average Americans hits the middle class, who again, the middle class are very vital to a healthy society and the economy. A lot of people nowadays are not within that spirit of laughing or having a good time or being within that spirit of merry-hearted. A lot of people out here are financially struggling, and they do not have the expense of laughing or trying to have a good time. So therefore, that spirit of mirth is being extracted from this American society on a daily basis. And that takes me right to Ecclesiastes 12 verse 3. "In the day when the keepers of the house should tremble," and that goes into these different financial market watchers, these economists. And they can be equated to financial weathermen. And they are all predicting or forecasting an economic storm, more so a financial collapse. "And the strong men shall bow themselves," and that goes into these international bankers, who are the ones that Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah are using to the palms of their hands to bring forth this global digital paradigm in the means of the MOTB system being implemented throughout the earth. "And the grinders cease because they are few," and that goes into the workforce within America, hence unemployment. And here's the point: "And those that look out of the windows be darkened." And again, that harsh reality is being set for you proudful Americans, especially you proudful modern women, and more so you powerful Israelite women that are caught up into the fashion of this current world. So going back to that second video of that Eve crying because she turned 40 and she feels like she's a failure in life, not able to achieve or accomplish this so-called American dream. And I wonder if she ever took into consideration if she had a stable man within her life or even within the household, and by them using both of their incomes, she would probably be within a more financially stable situation. But who knows if she do has a man or not, you know? But again, that's that harsh reality being set in for you powerful modern women. And that reminds me of a modern term within economics that's called consumer confidence or consumer sentiment. And that's the overall outlook, attitude, or expectation that a consumer has in regards to their economy, hence these Americans. So remember, this consumer confidence or consumer sentiment, it's a measure of how optimistic or pessimistic people are in regards to their current financial situation or even the future economic outlook. And that's a crucial economic indicator. And that's because earlier this year, they stated America's consumer sentiment or confidence is at an all-time low. So that means that more of these American consumers are pessimistic. They are expecting or anticipating the worst outcome for America's economy. And they are not motivated as they once were to spend like that, especially as the pre-COVID days. So when these Americans shop, they shop with intention. They're trying to save a buck or two as much as they can. So with that pessimistic consumer sentiment, that's causing a major strain upon the economic growth within America. And this is all done by design by the so-called powers that be. They want a chaotic environment, so therefore they can feel justified by bringing forth their solution or their order. And that's all within the means of the MOTB system being globally implemented. And that's fulfilling this prophecy right here. And those that look out of the windows be darkened. So the anticipation or the expectation for this so-called American dream is becoming more dim on a daily basis. And more of these Americans are coming to the realization that this so-called American dream is more so an American nightmare. And that fact alone is hurting a lot of these Americans, especially these modern women. And more so the powerful women of our nation that made their covenant with death. You're now finding out that their agreement or their promise, their alliance that your foremother Eve made with the serpent within the garden, that deal is all crumbling. And that covenant or that contract is about to be soon disannulled. So again, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. And that explains that pessimistic spirit growing on a daily basis upon these average Americans, and more so these middle-class Americans. Then that's going to cause a major economic ripple effect. Verse 4, and the doors should be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, which goes into this unemployment, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music should be brought low. And once you think about this, like good music is a great outlet for hardships and stressful times. So by Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah extracting the mirth and the excitement that comes with this entertainment, that vibration is causing all the daughters of music being brought low. So going back to that Eve again, the beginning of this video, when she was going on her emotional rant, she did state how she was confused and she just don't know. Because it's prophesied within the signs of that times how these people are going to be in great perplexity when Yahweh Bahashim Al-Shah brings forth these heavy burdens and straits upon these people around the world. That's also going to cause a lot of uncertainty, which fulfills this prophecy right here. And that takes me right to Luke 21, verse 25. And there should be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth distress of nations, which goes into that deep expression of sorrow, grief, and regret. And it says, with perplexity, and that goes into uncertainty. Like again, these people cannot spiritually pinpoint why all these divine signs of our times are occurring upon this earthly realm. and they cannot spiritually link it up with end-time biblical prophecies. But through the gift of the Holy Spirit, we as the hopeful elect, we can. And like I state from time to time, we are witnessing the build-up to Isaiah 33:6, how wisdom and knowledge should be the stability of our times. And that's the wisdom and the knowledge of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua via his holy word, not the wisdom of the current fashion of this world. So, and upon the earth, distress of nations with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Men's hearts failing them for fear. And that goes into these so-called men. They're becoming more emotional, unstable, just very impulsive in the spirit. And it stayed within Isaiah how Egypt should be like unto women. So if men's hearts failing them for fear, then how much more the weaker vessel, which are you women? And mind you, we are still within the state of normalcy. Like things really haven't popped off yet. So men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things hits these divine catastrophic events, which are nothing but widespread afflictions and plagues coming from Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. And they're going to be likened unto scourges that's upon the people not governed with the right spirit of Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua. And it says, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And that goes into these so-called powers that be on the left-hand side that mainly stem from the tabernacle of Esau Edom. It's stated within Isaiah 37:14, how thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. So that concludes the lesson through the spirit. More of these Americans are barely staying ahead due to this inflation. And where these economic straits are causing more of the average American and more so these millennials to work multiple jobs, which is called poly-working. And again, it's all engineered or manufactured by the so-called powers that be to set forth their solution or order in the means of this MOTB system. Because according to Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse, it goes into how he, referring to the tabernacle of Esau Edom, calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor. So notice it doesn't mention about the so-called middle class. And the middle class of America will soon be taken out by the way of a future catastrophic false flag event. It could be in the way of a cyber attack, which can cause a financial reset, or another engineered global pandemic. Look how the moms and pop stores got taken out by the so-called C-19. So again, that concludes the lesson. And with that, hopefully you all was edified, you all stay strong, keep pushing forward. Shalom.